Hello, and welcome to another session of virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley. My name is Batu Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. Virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley is sponsored by the Friends of the Brookline Public Library, who sponsor this program and programs like it. As always, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
Let's go ahead and start with our breathing, our centering. Always beginning with centering. Sitting up nice and tall, thinking about good posture, good breathing. So you can really feel the body here. Really feel the body. And then feel the body grounded. Feel the feet grounded into the floor. Feel the buttocks, the sitting bones grounded in the chair. That's our foundation. And from the foundation, we're able to extend the spine up. Lifting the spine. Think about lifting the heart when you do that. Or lifting and opening the chest, broadening the chest, and see if that helps to lift and extend the spine up. Be mindful that the gaze is still pointing straight ahead. And perhaps closing the eyes. Feel free to close the eyes here so you can really focus. You can bring the attention inwards to our center. And you're always welcome to rest the palm right on the belly, right on the navel, the belly button, and feel the belly moving with the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is that large muscle right in the center of the torso. And when it moves down, the lungs are filled with air. And the belly goes out. And when the diaphragm goes back up, when we relax the diaphragm, the belly goes back in, and the air, we exhale. So sitting up tall, feeling the breath. And if you can feel the belly well, perhaps moving the hands even up to the lower ribs. And so we get movement in the belly and then less movement, but some movement in the lower ribs. And you might even notice that the ribs, even the upper ribs, start to open and expand a little bit. So we call this the complete breath in yoga, or the three-part breath, with the parts being the belly moving, the ribs, and finally the upper, at the apex of the lungs up here where the collarbones are. It's a small movement up top though. So the biggest movement is down at the bottom. It's almost like a wave. If you imagine a gentle wave at the beach, and the belly lifts first, and then there's a little less in the ribs, and finally there's some, but even less up top at the collarbones. And then as we exhale, we can soften the collarbones, soften the ribs, or soften the belly. Alternatively, you could soften the belly, the ribs, and the collarbones. So you could go either way with the exhalation. Relaxing the shoulders. So it's important as we breathe, as we center ourselves, that the rest of the body learns to relax. We soften the face and the eyes. We relax the jaw and the tongue and the throat. You could even, if you wanted, take your fingers and gently massage the jaw. So the jaw runs from the chin. It actually is almost up at the ear where the joint is. So it's close, it's further up than you might think. It's way up here. You could even just touch there and massage there a little bit and see if you can get this area to soften and relax. And that way we release some of that. Sometimes there's a tendency for the mouth to grip, or we keep the teeth closed like that. And we'd like the jaw to be relaxed. We don't want to have our face, our mouth hanging open, but we'd like the softness in the jaw. And the same thing with the tongue. Think about if you open the mouth slightly and stick the tongue out, just letting the tongue relax down in the bottom of the mouth. Like it's softened, like it's softened. And then bringing our attention to the throat, right here, the front of the throat. If it's hard to feel that, take your fingers and very gently rub the front of the throat. Be mindful not to do it very hard. We have the voice box here, which is very sensitive. So really just very, very gently starting under the chin and going up and down a little bit. And then go back and think about softening the jaw, relaxing the tongue in the mouth, and softening the throat. All three of those things at the same time. And then coming down a little further, relaxing the collarbones right here, and the shoulders and the arms, the elbows, the forearms, the hands, the fingers, still sitting up tall. Next time you inhale, think about good posture and sitting up a little taller. So we're softening all these areas at the same time the spine is still rising up. And then going a little further down, softening the ribs. When we teach the ribs to soften and relax as we're inhaling, as the diaphragm is pulling the air in, the lungs are able to expand more because the ribs are softer, they're more pliable. Feeling the belly moving, feeling the hips and the buttocks, relaxing the hips and the buttocks as we extend the spine up. Feel the sitting bones in the chair, that's your support. Feel the feet, the soles of the feet on the floor, or if you have shoes on the insides of your shoes. So see if you can really feel the connection. Bring your attention down to the soles of the feet and very gently feel that connection. You can even try pressing the soles of the feet down with an isometric contraction of the quadriceps. And that helps to give us that feeling of support and make us be able to lift. And now let's add some movement with breath. So we're going to inhale, and we inhale and the arms float up and around. So we're circling like this. And this could be a place where if you like to keep something between the thighs to activate the inner thighs, you could do that with a block or a box of tissues or really anything light. And it's in the middle of the thighs, between the knee and the groin. So it's inhaling, and it's a slight squeezing. I'm not squeezing I'm squeezing just enough to hold whatever it is you've got there in place. And at the same time, you give that gentle squeeze. Think about pressing the outside edge of the foot down out here. So if we looked at the bottom of the foot, it would kind of be like a C shape with the arch lifted, and the part on the floor would be a C shape, and the arch part would be lifted. So we'd like to engage the inner parts of the legs and the arch with this slight holding of something between the thighs, and at the same time pressing down the outside edges of the feet. And then lift up the toes. Lift up the toes for a moment and spread the toes. And then place the toes carefully back down. So the toes would be as if I spread my fingers out like this. I would spread my toes. Even in shoes, you can do this a little bit. I would put my feet down like this, and that's my support. And then I've got my arms floating up and down on the breath. So as my arms are floating up, as I'm extending the spine up, I think about a slight engagement in the legs, very gently pressing the feet down or engaging the feet down. So it's a very small amount of effort there, maybe 10% effort, 15% effort. And that helps to ground us and gives us that feeling of support that makes it a little bit easier to extend the spine up as we lift. And remember that the shoulders here need to feel okay as we circle. So as you're going around, think about lifting the heart, and the hands are only going up so much as it's comfortable for the shoulders. You can always rest too. You can always take a rest for a few minutes. See if you can let go of some of the effort here. Balancing ease and effort. So as if you could do this for a while. And we're almost done. We're going to go the other way. But ideally, when we do our yoga poses or any yoga movements, we could do it for a while without straining. And that means we have to let go of some of the effort and bring the palms together. And now let's release the hands down. They float down and then they come up and over. So we're going in the opposite direction. The breath is still following the hands. As they go up, the breath is coming in. They come together. And as the hands are going down, the breath is going out. You might notice a little rocking in the sitting bones. So where the buttocks and the sitting bones are in the chair, notice if you get a little bit of pelvic tilting, a little rocking there. Without trying to do it. I'm just letting go. I'm letting the body move in a natural way. As I lift the arms, the heart lifts, the chest opens, and that sends a ripple of movement down and up the spine. So the chin might even lift a little bit. And the palms are facing up as the arms are going up. And see if you can find that ease again. Let go of some of the effort. Balance, ease and effort. And then 3 more times. And then go ahead and bring the hands down. If you had something between your legs, you could put that on the side. Sit up nice and tall. We'll do some cactus breaths. So this is to help open the heart, open the chest, and counteract our seatedness that we do so much of. Inhaling. So this could be something that you could do anytime during the day. Anytime you're seated, take a couple of breaths and lift the heart, lift the chest, and sit up tall. And you'll notice how it is the opposite of when we are at the computer. We tend to hunch forward and oftentimes lean forward like this. And this is the opposite. We're sitting up tall, we're lifting the heart, we're opening the chest. And if you want, you can add a little hugging. Give yourself a little hug in case you haven't had a hug today. Feeling the shoulder blades here. So the shoulder blades are moving behind me in the upper part of the back. See if you can feel them moving back and forth, almost like, let's try this, try flapping your wings like this, as if you were a dragon flapping its wings. And the flapping is going to move these shoulder blades in and out. In and out. Helps to bring a little more mobility to the thoracic spine. That area can get kind of bunched up. and stuck. And we don't want that. When the thoracic spine is stuck, when any part of the spine is stuck, it leads to imbalances in the rest of the spine. As we move, the other parts of the spine that move more freely have to compensate to make the movement happen, so they get overused, and the other parts get underutilized. So those parts tend to stiffen, and the other parts tend to get too mobile, and that can create problems. We want we want balance. We want things to be moving together in a beneficial way. I guess synergy, they would call it. And sitting up nice and tall, sliding to the front of the chair now and circling around. So we're going to start to bring a little bit more work going on in the abdomen and the core of the body here with our circling, starting with the hands on the knees. And if that's easy, you can swish the hands around like you're stirring a pot. And if that's still easy, or too easy, you want more, you can have the arms circling around. We want to be able to keep the spine lifted. So if you find that you're starting to slump or you're feeling any discomfort, especially in the lower back, then please go back to more support. So the most support is with the hands right on the knees. And that way, when we move around, we can actually press the hands down, and the arms are providing support for the upper body. And we're going the other way now. So we're going to shift and go the other way. But if this feels okay, you're welcome to swing the arms around. And if you want to make it still more challenging, you can make the circles a little bigger and go slower. Go slower, making sure that you can still keep the spine lengthened. So going slower means there's not much momentum. We really have to hold the body in position with the muscles. And at the same time, we need to keep the spine lengthened. So that's really that's the challenge. And of course, to do that without any pain or discomfort. So we start out with something manageable, and then we build over time, so that we build strength and we build more movement. And let's go from side to side. So this is starting out just lifting the heel and then lifting the foot up. So if the heel feels good, the weight is shifting one sitting bone to the other. And then you can work on how far you're leaning to the side. And notice that when you start to lean to the side, you need support from these muscles on the sides of the ribs. So we start to work the core, more the sides of the core of the body. We still want to keep the spine lengthened. If you want to make it more challenging, you can go slower. You could even hold the arms out and going slower. You could lift the foot, the knee a little higher. Remember, if you start to lift the knee higher, it's more challenging to keep the spine lengthened. So don't sacrifice your good posture because you want to lift your knee higher. It also, because when you lift the knee higher and you lose your posture, the back starts to round, and then that compresses the vertebra, which can result in pain or discomfort. So we don't want to do that. And let's go ahead and we're going to extend the sides of the body now by reaching straight up. So think about connecting with the foot and then reaching up. So it's almost like a movement up from the foot on the same side of the body as you're reaching up through the arm, feeling this lengthening right here in the ribs and the armpit, and then switching sides. And I'm doing it just enough where I'm feeling like it's stretching, but I'm not, there's no discomfort. I don't want to aggravate anything. I don't want spasms in any of the muscles along the ribs, especially. And as you get a little bit more as the motion gets going a little more, you can lean a little bit more and perhaps go a little bit faster. If your shoulders bother you, try keeping the elbows bent a little more. You could even work like this with lifting the elbow up and see if that helps. Almost like a chicken, like a chicken wing. And if you, of course, if you want more of a challenge, you can lean more, you can go to the side more. If you need support, as you go to the side, you could bring your hand down to the edge of the chair. Or work with the chair with arms, and then you would put your hand on the arm of the chair. And if you want even more, you could start to lift that foot up. Remember to reach up first and then do more leaning. If you're like this, you're going to find there's some balance involved too, because you're on one buttock and you want to make sure you don't fall out of the chair. So if there's any concern, especially for balance, make sure you use a chair with arms, a sturdy chair with arms. And you can always rest. You can always bring the arms down, pause for a moment, just take a few breaths, even cactus breaths. Maybe give a little sigh. So it's always good to rest after we do a little bit of work, and that calms everything down. The nervous system calms down, the musculature in the body calms down, and then we're still warm, and then we continue on. And that's an important thing, the oscillation of the energy when we do the practice, so that we're not for an hour totally energized. I mean, you could do that, but it's not really yoga, because then you don't have a balance. It means that you're energized, your muscles have tension in them a lot for a long period of time. And what I meant to mention at the beginning, have some water handy. If you start, especially in the wintertime, with the heat, sometimes it can dry the throat out. And we want to make sure that we're breathing well. So sitting up nice and tall, let's begin to work on the joints. So we centered, we warmed up. We're going to start to rock the feet. So go ahead and look down at the feet and let the feet rock forward and back. Keep the toes pointed straight ahead. Keep the knees pointed straight ahead. So your feet, imagine the bottoms of your feet are like a rocking chair, the bottoms of a rocking chair, back and forth. Toes are pointed straight ahead, knees are pointed straight ahead. You could even, if you wanted to put something back between the thighs, you could do that. And remember, it's just enough to hold whatever it is in place. I'm not trying to create an imbalance by over squeezing. You could even think about the C shape on the bottom of the foot here. I want to make it a little bit more interesting. That C shape as you rock, see if you can feel the C shape. So the arch is lifted and we have the heel coming down. And then as it rocks forward, we feel that outside edge here. The outside edge of the foot here, the arch is here, lifted a little bit. And then we feel the ball of the foot here. So that can be a little bit more challenging to be able to feel that, in addition to rocking forward and back. And let's add the hands to it, or add the wrists to it. Just swinging the hands forward and back. Keeping the shoulders relaxed. And if you got your hands moving, think about making the movement longer. So it's like a swinging forward, swinging back. And notice how your feet have to slow down. It's taking longer to move the hands. So the feet now have to go slower. So we're keeping them in rhythm. So as the As the toes lift up, as the heels come down and the toes lift up, my fingers are coming forward. And then when I go the opposite way, my fingers come back. Just noticing how we have the same, the rhythm is the same, but the speed is different. The speed of the hands, the speed of the feet is slower, has to be slower because there's less distance to cover. And sitting up nice and tall, let's slide back in our chair. So if you're not already back, slide back so you have support, and then go ahead and lift the feet up. Hands are on the knees, and let's circle around. So notice how we're starting down at the extremities of the body, and we're working our way inward with our warm up of the joints, and then the other way, circling. Keeping the knees in one place. Don't let the knees move. So remember, the knees are a hinge joint. They do this. They're not made to go in circles. And then let's add the wrists to it. And see if you can get the same rhythm here. So the fingers and toes are pointing in the same direction. So if I look down, if I hold my hands down in front of my, right above my knees, in front of my feet, my fingers and toes, they're pointing out and then they come in. And let's go the other way. And then notice the fingertips. Relax the palms of the hands. So think about softening this area in here and see if you can feel your fingertips. Actually, let's do this. Rest the feet. Bring the hands together like this and tap the fingertips like this. Perhaps closing the eyes when you do this and really focus in on feeling. And now go ahead and lift the feet up again. Let's try that again. Circling. And now, even though we're not tapping the fingertips, bring your attention down there. See if you can start to feel them a little bit. The hands are soft here. So the fingers are relaxed. The wrists are relaxed. And let's open the hands and then close. And as I open the hands, I'm going to open the soles of my feet too. It's not quite the same, but the idea is the same. I'm going to spread my fingers and and spread my palm out, and at the same time think about spreading the toes out and lifting so that they relax. So my feet are relaxed now, and then I lift and spread. And you know, my toes, people, depending on your toes, if you have shoes on, you won't be able to see them, but think about trying to spread them and get these muscles on the tops of the feet activating. There's a tendency sometimes for our toes and feet to get kind of curled up because they're stuck in shoes all the time. So it's actually nice if you can get some slippers that are that have some room in the, you know, that are warm and that have enough room so that you can spread your toes out. Your toes might appreciate that. You just have to find something that if you need support in your shoes, it is important if your feet are used to support, to give them some support. Otherwise, they can get sore, and also the arches may collapse in more than you're used to, which isn't necessarily, it's not good for the ankle joint or the knee joint. So sitting up nice and tall, let's lift the foot up. And I'm going to raise one arm too. So this is where we can count our appendages. So the more appendages we add to the lifting, the more challenging it becomes. So now I've got 3 lifted. And you should work with what feels comfortable. So even if just the one leg is comfortable, work with that. If you don't, if it bothers you to lift the arm up, or if you can't keep support in the spine when you lift the arm up, just do one leg. You could even experiment with both legs, as long as you can keep the spine lifted. That's why it's nice to use the chair. And then if I lean back in the chair and it's supportive and I lift up, I can actually feel when my back starts to collapse, because it feels different on the back of the chair. If I'm sitting up tall and my back is firmly supported by the chair, it feels supported. And then if I lift everything and it starts to lose support, where it touches the back of the chair changes. So then I know that I might not be lifted quite as well. So adjust your number of appendages that you're lifting so that you can keep the spine lifted. And of course, if you can do all four, that's great. But if you can only do one, even if you can just do one arm, you can always start with just an arm. Lifting up, thinking about extending up. So if I'm just doing my arm, I can think about pressing the feet down, or at least feeling them on the earth and feeling the sitting bones in the chair. And then that same idea, when we lift more, keep that same idea, pressing down, sitting bones supporting us as we extend the spine up. So it becomes an exercise really in removing some of the support and keeping the spine lifting and feeling light and long anyway, where it gets to be more challenging. So we ask more from the muscles when we do that. So we need to be patient and build up the strength over time. And let's see. So we already did the circling. Let's go ahead and lift the chin. So we're up to the neck now. So lifting the chin up and down. And then looking left and right. Feel free to add your hand here. So sweeping the arm. And then switch arms if you've been doing that. So the nose is following the hand here. And notice feel the connection between the shoulder blade and the neck. So there's a connection back here between the shoulder blade and the neck as this arm is moving. This is a very natural movement, because we often, if we were to point somewhere, if we were looking and going to point somewhere, we'd actually look in that direction. That's very normal. And then we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to point in one direction and turn the head in the opposite. Keeping everything still soft and relaxed here. And it feels a little bit, that's almost weird, because we don't usually do this. Most people don't point in that direction and look in the other direction. That sounds like something that would be in a comedy skit. So, and let's try the other side. So swinging the other arm. Try to keep the rhythm here, so that as the head is moving, the arm is moving. And then when the arm and head are pointing in opposite directions, they're at the same time. And then they're moving again, and then they point at the same time. That can be a bit of a challenge. And then we're going to tip the head. Think about sitting up tall. Let's check our posture again. So feet are flat on the floor. It's particularly important for the neck to have good posture, because we want to get extension. We want to have space between the vertebra in the neck. It makes it a lot easier to move the neck. And if you wanted to, you could add your support. just going from side to side here. And lastly, we'll bring the head back up and we'll circle around, drawing a little spiral with the tip of the nose. So making the spiral get bigger. And then going the other way. Now beginning to spiral in again. So now the spiral is getting smaller. And then stopping, pausing. And let's take a couple of breaths here. So we're going to do some work with the shoulder blades and the neck. So we're going to inhale. And as we inhale, we're going to lift the chin slightly. So we're gazing up at about 45 degrees. And then as I exhale, I release the chin down. Keep the spine long here. And then, oh, actually, let's do it this way instead. Bring the arms down. Let's start with, this will be the first movement, is up. And then the chin lifts up with the arms. And then we release the chin down. And relaxing the shoulders here. Relax the shoulders, even if you need to bend the elbows. And then inhale our cactus breath and lift the chin back up slightly, 45-degree angle. And then release the chin down, relaxing the shoulders. And then sweeping the arms up again. So as we're inhaling, the chin is lifting. As we're exhaling, the chin is relaxing down and the shoulders are soft, especially as you exhale. So the movement up is a soft kind of relaxed movement. And then the exhaling, chin drops, arms apart, cactus breath, inhaling, chin up, exhaling. Relax the chin down. And then a couple more. Inhale and exhale. And then inhale and exhale. One last time. Starting to feel the movement. You're feeling the movement in the shoulder blades, especially around the thoracic spine. And then lowering. Let's roll the shoulders. And then the other way. Just swim for a moment. We're going to start to get a little bit of turning in the body. So turning is a natural movement that we have. And so we start out with, we can facilitate the turning with moving the elbows back. So you could move them down here like this, or you could move them a little higher, more like you're swimming, depending on how your shoulders feel. And perhaps slowing it down a little bit. And see how that feels when it goes a little slower. It's a little more methodical. It requires a bit more concentration in the sense of keeping things moving freely and at an even pace. If we go a little faster, the movement is perhaps a little more natural feeling. It doesn't require quite as much attention. And then going the other way, reaching out and then across the body and down the other side. Starting to feel this movement in that belt between the hip bones and the lower ribs. You could even lay the ear as the head turns slightly to the side. So we're feeling the movement here in the belly and also in the shoulders. And remember to keep the elbows bent. If your shoulders bother you, more bend in the elbows. Make the movement a smaller stroke if the shoulders bother you. And then sitting up nice and tall. Take a couple of breaths. So we're going to work on our chair pose, which leads up to mountain pose and chair pose are a little bit interrelated, but we're going to start out with our chair pose. This helps to build strength in the buttocks and the quadriceps and the core of the body. So sitting in the chair, sliding forward in the chair as if you're going to stand up, and we start to lean forward. We want to keep the spine lifted. So if you have trouble leaning forward and shifting the weight onto the legs like this, and then we start to lift the buttocks out of the chair. Try putting the hands on the legs, on the thighs, and that can be a little bit of support as we start to lift off. I'm not standing up, though. I'm just lifting. So the first step is just to come forward and shift the weight. And then as I press the feet down with the quadriceps, I also firm up the belly and firm up the buttocks. I want to get all three muscle groups stabilizing the core to help me lift off. So lifting off is the first part, is just to engage the muscles and lift off, not to stand up. And I'm doing it evenly so that as I begin to come off, as I begin to lift off, it's evenly balanced on the feet. The left and the right feel similar. We have a tendency to favor one side. So see if you can keep the weight evenly balanced. If you have trouble lifting at all, you're not getting much, try sitting on something. So the higher you are in the seat, the easier it's going to be. Just like if you wanted to stand up, if you had a big, tall seat, it would be easy to stand up or easier to stand up. If you want to make it more challenging, you could actually have a lower seat. You just have to be very mindful of the knees, because if we drop the seat down too far, it's very hard on the knees to come up. So make sure there's no pain in the knees and no pain in the lower. Actually, there's no pain anywhere, but especially the knees and the lower back. So we're engaging buttocks, quadriceps, and belly. So we could just do these. You could do maybe 10 times. Or maybe starting out, if you're new to this, start out with 3 times. And do 3 times a few times. 3 times 3 times. And then you can build up over time. You can add more, and you can do more sets. And of course, if this is really easy, you're welcome to stand right up, but making sure that we've got the balance going. So as I'm coming up, I'm balanced, and I'm in control. I'm moving mindfully. These muscles are engaged. The belly is firm so that I can keep lifted, and the quadriceps are pressing the feet down. So that's really our beginning, our chair pose. I mean, chair pose it kind of looks like you're getting in and out of a chair. So the opposite of that. So repeat that when we're going to do it twice. The other way to do it, the more challenging way, and we only do this if there's no pain, is to do the opposite. Is to, as if we were going to sit in a chair, stand up nice and tall, engage the gluteal muscles, so they're squeezing in and together, engage the quadriceps, they firm up, they lift the kneecaps, they start to feel like they're moving back towards the wall behind you. The belly moves in, the navel moves back towards the spine, and then I start to come down. It can be nice to extend the hands a little bit for balance. So it's as if I'm going to sit in the chair, but notice I'm not really going down in the chair. I also want to engage the inner thighs here. Don't let the knees splay out. So the feet are pointed straight ahead. The knees are pointed straight ahead. And I'm coming up and down. So this could be a place, you could probably use a block here too, if you wanted, to help keep the inner thighs engaged, and also to keep the knees stable. So I'm sitting down, so as if I'm going to sit down. So it looks like this. And notice how my back isn't rounding like this. It's a little flatter here, but it is still not, it's not rounding. If you start to round the lower back, then what happens is it tends to, the vertebrae are misaligned, and it can put pressure on the nerves and create pain or discomfort. So this would be something where if you were doing this, you could do, say, starting with three times. And you could do, say, 3 sets of that. And then over time, maybe the next week, if you're doing these regularly, you do 4 in a row and do 3 sets. And you'll notice over time that all these muscles become more responsive. And that's it's a great feeling when you can actually get the muscles to do what you want them to do. You can turn them on and they actually do what they're told. We can't say that about a lot of things in life. But it does take practice. It takes regular practice. So sitting up nice and tall. Let's do our balance pose. So that's a really good strengthening pose and works on the core and also helps with balance, because ultimately we really need these muscle groups to work and be stable in order to have good balance. Sitting up tall, let's do our tree pose. So we're stepping the foot out and extending the spine up. Let's try that again. Bring the foot back. And then step the foot out and extend the spine up. And then bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the chair leg. And if you'd like to do this standing, of course, you're welcome to do that with the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And of course, you have a choice. Palms together, arms lengthened, palms overhead, whichever one feels comfortable and facilitates that lengthening of the spine, the opening of the heart. So the breath and the lifting and as if you were a bird flying, a lightness that comes from our balance pose, a lightness, and at the same time, a grounding. Think about pressing that front foot down, the one that's on the earth. Think about pressing it down with the quadricep. And that provides a little more support, and feeling the sitting bone on that side pressing down. And of course, you can come down whenever you want. And let's all, if you're not down, let's all come down and let's come back and we'll do the other side. So sitting up tall first, find evenness, balance, neutrality, and then stepping the foot out. Torso is facing straight ahead. Try that again. Come back. And then one more time. Torso is facing straight ahead. And then go ahead and add your arms however you'd like. Extending the spine up. And this time pressing the other foot down. So it's the foot that's on the earth, pressing that down. Feeling the sitting bone on the same side. So this buttock over here feels like it's pressing down into the seat of the chair. And that's our support. And we're extending the spine up from that leg and that sitting bone. Oh, and the other foot is on the inside of the chair leg. So there's not a lot of weight on this side. There's a little bit. And the weight's actually transferred down to the sole of the foot into the chair leg. Feel some lightness, feel some lifting, some freedom as we lower the arms down and then bring the foot back. So sitting up tall. So you can repeat that seated, or if you're doing it standing, you're invited to stand up. Remember to have support. So have a chair behind you, have a chair in front. if you need support for balance. So we start in our mountain pose, standing up tall, and let's bend the knees slightly here. So this is really almost the beginning of a chair pose. And you can have the feet, depending on what's comfortable for your knees and what feels balanced, you can have your feet as far as hip width apart. Or some people find it comfortable to have the feet touching. I like just a little space between them. I find it's easier to keep the knees in, but you can experiment with that. So I'm bending slightly and coming back up. So it looks like this. Same as with our chair pose. The same muscles that we're working with, the quadriceps, the gluteal muscles, the abdomen, extending the spine up. You could even add the arms if you wanted, if that's helpful. And now let's stand up nice and tall and step the foot out and find that balance first on this other leg. So now this is our earthly leg, our earthly foot. It's grounded. And then we bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf and extending the spine up. Start with length. Bring the hands in front of the heart or out to the side or over the head, whatever is comfortable. Keeping the shoulders relaxed here. And perhaps raising the gaze. And if your foot comes down, just bring it back. Raising the gaze, extending the spine up. See if you can find some ease here. There's some effort, but find some ease too. And then whenever you're ready, you can come down. It's important, whatever pose we do, to find some ease. Otherwise, it's really unpleasant in the pose. You need to find just a little slice of ease. And then standing up tall, stepping the other foot out, and extending the spine up. So pressing this foot on this side down. So this there's not much weight in it. Extending up, sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. And then finding a drishti point with the gaze of the eyes and extending the arms up. Finding some ease as you extend the spine, as you breathe in. Remember to keep breathing, relax the face and the eyes here. And then whenever you're ready, come on down. And let's swing the arms. Remember, if you're standing, we want the knees to be springy here. So they're not bending a lot, but they're not locked. And the weight is shifting. Feel the weight moving. We still have some weight on the opposite foot, but most of the weight moves to one side, like this. And I'm lifted up. Keep the heart lifted. And if you want, you can even it can be fun to let the hands just sort of gently slap the body. Call this coat sleeves, like we're swinging some coat sleeves, empty coat sleeves. And then slowing back down. And let's take a seat. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's go ahead and cross the ankle like this, and then uncross. We'll do this a couple of times. So this is to a piriformis stretch, they call it. So the piriformis is this very small little muscle that's very deep in the around the hip area. So the first step is to just cross over like this, and you start to feel, you might feel in this buttock on this side with the crossed leg, a little bit of a stretch. And then the next, if that feels okay, crossing the ankle over the knee like this. Or if you had a block or something to support the foot, you might work on it lower like this. We want to make sure there's no pain in the knee though. So we don't want bending where the movement here is happening in the hip area, not in the knee joint. So we're not turning the lower leg in the knee joint. We're resting here, and the knee joint is actually not changing. It's still, it's not turning in, and there's no pain. So if you feel pain on the inside of this, the knee joint here, then you should go back to doing it with the foot over the ankle. And let's do the other side. So we start out with the simplest one, which is just crossing like this. And then we can work our way to the knee over, or the ankle over the knee. Sitting up tall. So one of the things that can happen is when we cross our leg like this, we start to slump. So think about sitting up tall and take a couple breaths. Remember, no pain in the knee here. If there's any pain in the knee, please uncross. And let's go back. Let's do the other side one more time, because we didn't spend any time there. Let's go and do a couple of breaths there. Inhaling. And as you exhale, think about the hip and the buttock softening on this side. Softening. So bring our attention down here and let it relax as we exhale. As we inhale, we can sit up a little taller. You can even rest the hands on the shin and very gently guide the chest up as you breathe in. And then as you exhale, you relax the shoulders, relax the hips. And then let's uncross. And let's come back. We're going to settle into our Shavasana, our final relaxation. Actually, let's do some sun breaths just to warm down a little. Inhaling, circling the arms around. And notice if things feel any looser. And I'm thinking about the spine itself, that perhaps when you lift up, when the heart opens just a little bit more, with a little bit more ease, the shoulder blades come together with a little bit more ease. Maybe the chin is going up and down with a little more ease, or the hips are rocking with just a bit more ease. And let's go the other way. And then whenever you're ready, you can settle in to rest. Making sure that the back feels supported, resting the hands and arms in their most comfortable spot, whatever that is. And coming back to the breath, noticing the breath first. Centering our attention on the breath. Without changing it, just noticing it, just watching it, being an observer. Or some people would say in yoga, the witness. Witness the breath. Just moving in and out without doing anything. And usually with time, as we watch the breath, it begins to slow down without us doing anything at all. Naturally begins to slow down. Softening the face and the eyes. Relaxing the shoulders and the arms and the hands. Releasing the buttocks and the hips. Softening the shins and the calves, and the ankles and the feet and toes. So as we breathe in, we feel the support from the breath. As we exhale, we feel the relaxation from the breath. That will complete our class for today. And being in Shavasana is a great way to spend time. So please, if you have a few extra minutes, spend them in Shavasana. I'll see everyone next time. Namaste. Thank you very much.